Hello and welcome to my new video. As soon as I had completed creating the structure of my novel, including the rough details on what each character says and when, I faced a similar set of questions. How do I increase the word count of my novel? How do I make my novel thicker or beefier? It is completely natural to feel that you need more words and more pages in your novel. Everyone imagines their work of fiction to be a hardbound, thick edition with a glossy cover and stylish literature. Through this video, I will share with you what did I do to increase the word count and the page count of my novel and what I learned in the process. Let us dive in. Tip number 1. Research as much as you can about the topic of your novel. If possible, include the points from your research in your novel. For example, because I was writing on the life of someone who served in the Indian Air Force, I researched topics around it. I read about what they do, how they spend their days, or what they do during wars or battles. It helped that my close family members had lived those experiences, so I could write about the topic in a great amount of detail. I also learned that both the inspiration and the information could come from all sources, provided we are open to receiving those. For the novel that you may be working on, look for topics that you can research. So long as your topics and stories are well researched and backed with believable, logical and verifiable data, you are good to go. You could pick real-life events around which your story develops. But there could be topics that are beyond your research. For instance, if you are working on a novel with utopian or dystopian characteristics, I would say help supply believable logic for the readers to understand what is going on or why. If you cannot help but introduce facts into your work of fiction, do not educate the readers. Even if there is just one reason for the readers to buy your book, education will not be that reason. Over the years, I have also discovered that our readers prefer passive learning. They are more willing to learn when they aren't being taught. Consider this example from the book Black River Run by Kiran Kalap. Look at how the author doesn't quote or present bare facts but uses his story to carefully conceal them under the layers of emotion. It's when he says, "It's 1992 and the dismantling of the Babri Masjid has triggered riots in Mumbai. Bhuva is pissed off by the glasses and stones on the road. Not good for Kamandalu's tires." Bhuva, the protagonist of the story, is a taxi driver. Here is why such an idea is successful. You tell me why knowing certain facts will contribute to a better understanding of the story, and chances are I'll skip it. But if you reverse this logic and share the story around it, I'll grab it with both hands. Who knows, I might remember the fact for the rest of my life. The whole notion of books, after all, is that they are our best friends. We listen to and follow our friends attentively and wholeheartedly. Tip number 2. Describe and elaborate upon the missing links. Pace the episodes for the right effect. For topics that you have a lot happening, increase the pace. As in, don't write summary. Elaborate it to the effect that several events happen in each chapter or episode. Include words that can quickly tell the readers what is happening. In the cases when the pace is slow, describe things minutely for a detailed account of what is happening in the story. In Black River Run, the same book that we referred to, the first 18 chapters talk about the life of Bhuva, where each chapter has its dedicated episodes. But chapter 19 and 20 are dedicated to his arrest and how he spends his time behind the bars. Consider how the writer wants us to dedicate more time and effort to the chapters that generate the most emotions within us. Add characters, examples, and cross-references. Let me give you an example from the same book. When the author introduces the brother of Jiru Jijibhoy, he uses the visual cues from her childhood to build a referential story for us. Through the story, he takes us back into Jiru's memory lane, where she reminds herself of the stories of Body, which is her birthplace, her olfactory capabilities, and her brother Wispy. In just one paragraph, the author adds all of that. Let me read out the paragraph for you. Olfaction is a part of the subconscious. It's the first sense that's activated when we are born, and it continues to remain active throughout our lives because it contains the only neurons in the body that get replaced every month. In Body in Gujarat, in the navel of Parsi culture, time is arthritic. It hobbles along between the casuarina trees, occasionally casting glances at the horizon through cataracted eyes. It rests with a sigh on the cranky, brotherly swing in the porch, lung sacs made heavy with the smell of the chiku fruit, but Jiru and her brother Wispy love the guava tree in the courtyard. Tip number 3. Reread your novel for loose ends and rediscover the length of the plot. For this, print your draft and either read it aloud or give it to someone. Mark all the changes and modifications along with additional information in the complete draft before you sit down to make the changes. Also, ensure that you use the right words for the right effect. If your novel deserves creativity and decoration, using complex, unheard of words won't benefit if they don't fit the purpose and timing of the story. Let me give you another example, and you might have guessed it, it is from the same book, Black River Run. In chapter 20, Bua is in jail. It is here that he confronts Ahmed Khan for the first time. For this, the author uses one sentence. Yes, just one sentence. The whole canteen is watching without watching. Situations like these can be described using countless words, yet the author chooses just one sentence. Now I want you to notice how carefully the sentence is designed. Neither it is long, nor are there any words unheard of, yet the sentence weighs heavily for what it introduces. With this, we come to the end of the first part of the video. So far, we have looked at what we can do to increase the word count and page count. And we've also looked at how we can introduce side characters and add weight to the story without adding the unnecessary bulk. And it is from here that we look at the second part of the video. For the sake of what it introduces, let us call it Antithesis, which underpins the fact that you don't always need beefing up the story. I mean, beefed up biceps is still a relatively better idea than having a novel that has put on unnecessary weight. But on the flip side, it is easier to cut the flab out of a novel. With the increasing number of options for our senses to pursue, our attention span has considerably reduced. This justifies the need to write simply. Keep in mind that I don't recommend that you must always write minimally, but you can still write simply. For such reasons, I am a big fan of Kiran Khalap's work. His writing style is minimal and straightforward, yet he never fails bringing intricate emotions to surface. Let me show you an example. Consider this paragraph from Black River Run. The protagonist, Bua, is in conversation with an aged couple who have hired him to drop them off to the nearest hospital. Their visit is a part of the regular checkups the aged man has to show up for as a cancer patient. Bua cannot fathom what the couple must be going through, considering that their only son has decided never to return from the USA. Upon reaching the hospital, the couple alights, but for some reason, Bua is not able to let go of them. So he parks the taxi and steps inside the hospital to help them. After supplying us with this context, Kiran, the author, writes, "The woman sighs in relief as Bua's iron arms hold the man and takes the weight off her shoulders. He leans towards Bua. His mouth puffs out sharp notes of cardamom he is chewing. There are many kinds of cancer. My son suffers from the type that transforms heart muscles into stone." His whisper again ends in laughter and a cough that moves the cage of ribs inside him violently. Notice how the author has been able to communicate such complex relationships in such a simple set of words. Let us now look at the conclusion. As far as I have understood, creating complexities complicates the plot itself. and chances are you will loosen more ends than you will end up tying. Assuming that the reader's world is already complicated enough, increasing that complexity could then be a risky step. Abundance of information is one of the easiest of ways to lose the readers. In On Writing Well, William Zinsser aptly summarizes it for us when he says, "The man or woman snoozing in a chair with a magazine or a book is a person who was given too much unnecessary trouble by the writer." Here's what I conclude. Take the trouble of rewriting if you think the readers might doze off. The last thing you would want your book to do for your readers is waste their time. Do whatever is required, but simplify the story for the readers. I've realized that simplicity has been the underpinning factor for everything brilliant that I have created, and there's a good chance that it will underpin your brilliant work too. If you've liked this video, please subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.